Hey everyone, what's up? How's it going? This is Finite MTG, and today I am bringing you a Chaos draft. This time we are going to be looking at the draft log and replaying the matches, and there are going to be a couple more after this one as well. These are all super sweet drafts though, so really excited to share them with you guys. And yeah, that's going to close out the Pioneer Chaos draft season for us. So with that out of the way, let's dive into the picks. All right, here, pack one, pick one. We have some decent uncommons. Scampering Scorcher is fine. Bloodthirsty Aerialist is pretty solid as well. And Ancestral Blade was uncommon in this set. Reprinted later at common. Also a very strong card. Reprinted twice in a pretty short amount of time, so shows you that Wizards has some real appreciation for it. There's also an Audacious Thief here. I like cards like this quite a bit, more than just about anyone else that I've seen, at least. Anytime you can get some form of an Ophidian and back it up with removal, you have a very strong possible way to win a game. And the floor isn't the lowest either. Constantly forces your opponent to have blocker back, or they risk giving you cards for free. And this one, you don't even need to connect to draw a card. So this is a very strong card. Definitely something I was considering picking here, but I did end up deciding to go with the Ancestral Blade. There's a lot of attrition in this format, and that makes equipments quite strong. And this is just a really nice card. Really good, cheap 2-drop, if you will, and 2-drops are pretty high priority in this format. So that's how I started things off. All right, pack one, pick two. This pack is not quite as strong. There is another good white card to follow things up here with the Pegasus Courser. This would also be a good pick if I had picked up that Audacious Thief. That could try to make sure the Thief can get in multiple times. So once again, Thief is a good card to build around. But another very strong card in this pack is just the Blink of an Eye, and I thought that this one was just a little too much better than that Pegasus Courser. Didn't want to stick to white just for that Ancestral Blade. I want to figure out which colors are open, take the best cards in the packs. So in my opinion, that's the Blink of the Eye. That's what I took there. All right, this time we do have some good white cards here once again. We've got another flyer in the Abzan Sky Captain, which is not an amazing card. The rate is a little bit lacking, doesn't always die when you want it to, which means that Bolster 2 can be harder to achieve than you'd like. And then there's Honor's Reward, which is a pretty good combat trick. You don't really get to choose that often what you're putting it on, but can definitely do a good job in the right situation. That said, I really didn't like any of the spells in this pack, but I do like the land. I did just pick up a blue card with the Blink of an Eye, and mana fixing can really let you do all kinds of crazy things in this format. That's going to be a theme of this draft. So Dismal Backwater, yes, it's a little early to pick it, but in a lackluster pack, hey, it's a card that can improve my deck when not much in this pack necessarily would. So that's what I took here. Pack one, pick four, we get a very powerful pack, at least a few cards that I'm interested in. Narset, which has more of a constructed pedigree, definitely a strong card, but might do an Augur of Bolas impression in limited, and by that I mean you're not super likely to hit a non-creature, non-land card in your top four. You can try to build your deck around it. It's still early in the draft, but realistically, you're going to need a lot of creatures and a lot of lands. And that means that Narset is not going to do that much. The static ability is not a huge draw here. So otherwise, there's a Trusted Pegasus. We did pass that Courser earlier. And the Pegasus is an interesting one. The 2/2 body is arguably better than the 1/3 body. And yeah, we are considering playing white. The other cards that we'd be interested in are Bloom Hulk, which does the most in War of the Spark. That proliferate ability is going to have a lot of value with Planeswalkers and +1/+1 counters on like a mass zombies and stuff like that. Chaos is going to do a little bit less. And then Tidebearer Giant, which is also a really strong card, but pretty expensive. So I decided here I would just take this Trusted Pegasus to go with my Ancestral Blade. Seems like white is potentially open here. All right, pack one, pick five. So continuing to see some strong white and blue cards. I've got some good flyers here. Here's Blue Dragon. 7 mana for a 5/5. It's going to shrink a bunch of stuff when it enters the battlefield until your next turn, which is nice. We're seeing a lot more of that kind of templating on these new cards. There's also a Planar Ally here, which is another snowball card, though it doesn't snowball the same way the Audacious Thief does. That card is more powerful, though this card does have a better rate without that ability. That said, Blue Dragon is just a little too expensive for my taste. I've really come way down on 7-drops in this format. It's just such a fast format, and there isn't too much ramp, which means that you can't really afford to have a card rot in your hand for most of the game. So I actually ended up going with one of the cheaper cards in the pack here in Steadfast Paladin. So 2 mana 2/2 lifelink is going to be a really strong card for aggro, for a more controlling or mid-range deck as well. Just having the potential to out life swing your opponents is something that is really valuable, and I did take that Ancestral Blade first pick, so that shows you how much I value these good 2s. Alright, next up here is another pretty mediocre pack. We have some interesting white cards, kind of a beast within here and reduced to memory, and I don't think there are any learn cards in the pack, which means these lessons have to be main decked if we want to cast them in a game. There's Beaming Defiance, which is a decent trick, but not anything I'm hoping to pick up this early. So I actually ended up going here with Environmental Sciences. It's a little bit slower than you'd like. You'd love this effect at 1 mana, but this is a pretty decent card, and the fact that it costs a 2nd mana is somewhat offset by that 2 life you gain. So just like that Dismal Backwater, just trying to keep my options open by taking Fixing early. Maybe that'll enable me to do something pretty wild coming up. Alright, pack 1, pick 7. We do have another land here. Pretty good one in Windscarred Crag. Not too many exciting spells here. Cancel is a very mediocre card. But I actually ended up going here with a Truffle Snout. I like this card quite a bit. It's been good for me in Chaos drafts in the past. Most of the time it's a Cathodian, but when you gain that 4 life, that's going to matter quite a bit too. So just thought that maybe green is open here. That's my reason for picking up the Snout. Alright, pack 1, pick 8. Looks like we still have some good white and blue playables in the pack, which is a good sign for us. Totally Lost is fairly nice. The Oculus is really good if you're exactly blue-green, but at this point, Assault Griffin is really easy to make my deck. I'm trying to play white if possible, and this is a good flyer, so happy enough to take it. Alright, pack 1, pick 9. We do end up with another flyer that costs 3 and a white here, Griffin Protector, and this card is pretty decent. Maybe a little bit worse than the previous Griffin, but still a solid playable that we're happy to pick up here. Pack 1, pick 10, not too much going on. There's a Thallid Omnivore, which can be a pretty decent card, but here, just decided to go with the Dominant Trapper. If I do pick up some historic spells, this card will be pretty good, and if not, it's almost playable. It's something that you could run if you needed to, so not too horrible. Alright, pack 1, pick 11. Here I did pick up that Honors Reward that I mentioned liking earlier. Not going to main deck this one necessarily, but it's going to be good in certain matchups, and it might be good enough just in general. Pack 1, pick 12. Here I just picked up a Teo's Light Shield. Just another white card that's roughly playable going fairly late here, so might as well try to pick up those signals for white. Then pack 1, pick 13, we get a Bull Strength. Pack 1, pick 14, we get a Beaming Defiance, which is pretty nice. Kind of like that Honors Reward. This is a card that could make our deck some of the time, or at least be a good sideboard option for us. And then pack 1, pick 15. We do get a Warded Battlements here. Kind of like that Teo's Light Shield, just another 3 mana 0/3 that can pump something up, and that's maybe playable. Alright, time for the bonkers picks to start rolling in. Pack 2, pick 1, we get an Alrund, God of the Cosmos. So this card is super powerful. We're not going to be able to see the other side here from zooming in, but the other side is 1 and a blue for a 2/3. Flyer, when it deals combat damage to a player, you return it to its owner's hand, and then scry 2. So pretty much can help you hit land drops so you can cast Alrund. So there's some cool utility about returning it to its owner's hand. And then once you do cast the Alrund, it's just going to be enormous. It's going to draw you a ton of cards. Very, very strong mythic. We knew we wanted to play white. We had some interest in playing blue, and now we are very committed to blue. Pack 2, pick 2 here. White-blue, you say. How about an Arcanist's Owl? So this card is a pretty good flyer, just based on the rate, 4 mana for a 3/3 flyer. And we do have a bit of interest in artifacts and enchantments at this point. We have that Dominant Trapper, so we are going to be looking for some historic spells. This is one of them. We might find some others. Alright, pack 2, pick 3. Still picking up some very strong cards here. This time we get a Luminous Bonds. This pack doesn't bode super well for us, though. There really isn't too much going on. Really no blue cards unless you count the Protean Raider, and the fixing is kind of interesting, but Luminous Bonds is easily the pick. Alright, pack 2, pick 4. Once again, we have a pack that's not super strong. This time we're going to take Messenger Drake as a nice 5 mana flyer, card advantage if you're able to trade off. Glimpse the Future is a 3 mana strategic planning. Not a card I'm really looking to play in this format. This format is too fast for cards like this. But the Drake is a pretty nice one, so happy with that. Alright, pack 2, pick 5. This time we get a card that I saw consistently go late in this format, Font of Fortunes. I do like Divinations quite a bit, so I mentioned that I don't like 3 mana strategic planning. I do like 4 mana Divination. I'd be decently happy with Inspiration too. And this one, it is split into 2 payments of 2. You have to pay 2 the first time at sorcery speed. But card advantage is still pretty nice, even in a faster form of Chaos Draft. And yeah, you're going to find an opportunity to spend the 2 mana and crack this thing. It's going to be pretty good. Worst Fears and Nyx Weaver are some other fun cards in the pack, but not for us. Alright, well, pack 2, pick 6. There isn't too much going on here. There's like Mission Briefing, which maybe you can do something cool with, but most of the time I don't think that's super realistic, so I believe here I ended up going with the Ladev Guardian. 4 mana 2/4, in no way an exciting card, but if you are able to convoke it out, then maybe that's something you're interested in. For me, it's probably just going to be a sideboard option, but in a pinch I could main deck it. Alright, in pack 2, pick 7, we have a few nice cards for us here. Gust of Wind, Thieving Otter, Avian Oddity. I believe I decided to go with the Otter. Just like that Audacious Thief I mentioned, pack 1, pick 1, I like these effects quite a bit. We do have the Trusted Pegasus, I believe, which can give this thing flying. We've picked up some bounce spells, some removal, so I think this is looking like a premium card for us. I believe we took it over the other blue cards. Alright, pack 2, pick 8, we get an Ether Theorist. It's a little like the Scryfish. You get to scry a few times with this guy. You don't really have to worry about the energy text on that. It's not going to come up too often. But yeah, pretty reasonable 2-drop. Happy to get it this late. Alright, pack 2, pick 9. This was a very difficult pick. This is a pick that I thought at the time was correct. I mean, it's really hard to make a pick that you think is wrong in real time. But then later, I thought that, hey, maybe I should have picked another card. And then after that, I actually changed my mind again. But at this point, I just ended up taking the God's Hall Guardian. So I haven't played with Kaldheim, so I don't really know how good the cards are, but this seemed like a pretty decent one to me. You pay 2 up front, and then later you pay 4 mana. You get a 3/6 Vigilance, which is a pretty large body. And if you have to pay 6 in one turn, that's not the end of the world either. So I thought that this one was a pretty decent body, though the other consideration, of course, was the Shimmerdrift Veil. Mana fixing, as I've mentioned, is a really important thing to prioritize in this format, even more than other formats similar to this one. And the reason for that is because there are so many bombs. There are so many strong bombs in this format. You really want to make it as likely as possible to be able to play those. Whereas in traditional Chaos Draft, not nearly as many bombs, which means fixing is not nearly as high of a priority. But yeah, the Shimmerdrift Veil, kind of regretted passing that one, but we'll come back to that later. Pack 2, pick 10. I think I took this Sporecap Spider because it's a pretty decent card against my deck, but obviously none of these cards are making my deck. Even if they are splashable, none of them are good enough. So Then pack 2, pick 11 here. I either took the Knight of the Stampede or the Relentless Raptor. I probably took the Knight. No, it looks like I did take the Raptor. Okay, so yeah, that means that I thought that the Knight was not the most important card ever, and I've wheeled the Relentless Raptor in Chaos before, so I think I wanted to make sure no one else had that experience. All right, pack 2, pick 12. Here, I think I just took the Dark Favor. People underrate auras. People associate auras with getting 2 for 1, and it's true that auras can lead you to getting 2 for 1, but auras can also lead you to running away with games. Whereas 7 mana 5/5 is not going to do that. Tome Scour is not going to do that. So this card is the most potentially threatening, and also the swingiest. Pack 2, pick 13. We do have a couple playables here still in the Satyr Grove Dancer and the Font of Fertility. This one, not so much in my opinion. Okay, I went with the font. That's reasonable, just trying to take fixing away from the other players, and take as much as I can for myself. Alright, pack 2, pick 14, we get a Fearless Halberdier. And pack 2, pick 15, we get a Thwart the Enemy, which is a lot better than something like Pause for Reflection. Alright, pack 3, pick 1 here. Time for another rare. Atris, Oracle of Half-Truths. This card is quite strong. It's a fun little mini game when this thing enters the battlefield, and guess what? We have the mana fixing. We picked up that Dismal Backwater. We picked up whatever that lesson is that searches for a basic. So we have the fixing necessary to put this thing in our deck, and that means that we've been paid off for taking that fixing so highly. And yeah, otherwise in this pack there's really not much. Looks like there are 0 white cards, which is not how things should be set up. And yeah, the other blue cards are pretty underwhelming, so very happy to pick up this Atris here. But the bombs don't end there. This time we get past a Pristine Skywise. And this card is just super annoying. It's a reference to Pristine Angel. It has this similar untap protection ability, I think. And just a super annoying card to play against. If you have an instant available, it's just about impossible to kill. Very, very strong magic cards, the ones with Pristine in the name. And no, I'm not talking about the Talisman. So yeah, happy to get the Skywise here. It's going to make games where I'm able to cast it much easier. Pack 3, pick 3 here. We do have some medium options. We have a Stonehaven Medic, Wavewing Elemental, and this thing can hit pretty hard if you have the land to play. There's also a Rush of Ice, which is fine. Nothing too exciting in my opinion. So here I ended up taking the Evolving Wilds. This is really going to solidify our splash of the Atris. The other cards are replaceable. We'll probably wheel at least one of them anyway. Alright, pack 3, pick 4. We get a pretty nice one here. Believe at this point could not pass the Thraben Inspectors. There's another similar Investigate card in the Drownyard Explorers. But I believe I took the Inspector just as a cheap card. It's going to make a lot of hands more keepable. Like you're going to keep more 2-landers with this than you would with the Drownyard Explorers. It's good for curve. Just a nice card all around. Good with Blink of an Eye as well, if you're really looking for value. So yeah, pretty happy with the Inspector. Alright, pack 3, pick 5. There's really not much going on for us here. There's like a Mighty Leap. We already have some +2/+2 combat tricks if we're interested in them. So here I actually ended up going with the Woodland Stream. Just thinking, hey, you know what? Taking mana fixing has paid off for me quite a bit before. Might as well take this here. Passing just about nothing that could make my deck, and there's even a chance the Mighty Leap could wheel if I wanted it. Alright, pack 3, pick 6. This pack is not super exciting for us. Lots of whiffs from Theros, if I recall correctly. And yeah, we have Scholar of Athreos, which is a powerful card. There's also just a Traveling Philosopher. And I believe, yeah, I did just go with the Philosopher. I did draft a deck with Scholar not super long ago, but just found it a little bit hard to activate this card. Whereas the Philosopher, like I mentioned, the 2-drops are very important. My curve is a little bit high, even though I've prioritized 2-drops. So, yeah, still fine with a bear here over that Scholar. All right, in pack 3, pick 7. I guess we need more rewards for taking fixing, so might as well. There's an Angel of the God Pharaoh here, and this card is pretty solid. But we already have some extremely good expensive cards. And even though this is a flexible one and the other expensive cards aren't necessarily as flexible, there's a Pride Sovereign here. And we did just pick up that Woodland Stream, and we have that Evolving Wilds, and we have that Environmental Sciences from earlier. So yeah, this card is great. A little bit surprised to see it here, pick 7, but yeah, I mean, this is just like the perfect reward for taking all that fixing earlier. And that's kind of what you expect, I think, honestly. Lots of multicolored rares in this format, and if you can afford to put them in your deck, obviously you're going to slam them. But if there's just no way it makes your deck and there's another good playable for you, then, you know, why take a card that can never make your deck? So, rewarded for taking the fixing, and going to take that Pride Sovereign. All right, pack 3, pick 8. There's an Aeronaut Admiral, card that I would be fine with in traditional Chaos, but here we generally want things to be a little bit better if possible, and this deck is also looking very good, so not necessarily going to have room for this card. All right, pack 3, pick 9. I believe I just took one of these blue instant speed cards here. Looks like I took the Chain to Memory, which can be a fine trick, probably a sideboard card against the aggressive decks, though this is not something I'm so happy with that I'm planning on starting it. In pack 3, pick 10, we pick up a Center Soul, which is a fine protection spell. Nothing too fancy, but maybe something that can make our deck. Pack 3, pick 11. Looks like we're going to take maybe a 6 mana 5/5 over a 2 mana 1/2. Some other cards that can blow up lands that we're not really interested in, so yeah, not too much going on in this pack at this point. Pack 3, pick 12. I think we took the Topplegeist here. This card can be really strong, but it's also extremely difficult to get Delirium in a Chaos format, so not super likely that we'll be playing that one. And then pack 3, pick 13, we did get that Mighty Leap, as we had discussed, so really no downside to taking that fixing earlier, and definitely huge payoff. Pack 3, pick 14, we get 5 mana 3/5 vanilla, and get to keep reading the Theriad if that's something we want to do. In pack 3, pick 15, we get a Swamp. So this is how I ended up building the deck. It is a very, very strong one. We did end up main decking that Honor's Reward after all, and you can see here, it doesn't matter that I'm trying to double splash. Doesn't matter that I have Arcanist's Owl in my deck, because I have so much fixing, I can really do whatever I want. I have that Dismal Backwater, the Evolving Wilds, I have that Woodland Stream, and the Environmental Sciences. And so the Wilds and the Sciences are going to necessitate one basic of each color, but with a dual of each color as well, that's actually just it. I'm good on fixing right there. I also have Ether Theorist to scry, Font of Fortunes to dig a little bit through my deck. But yeah, this deck was just so strong, as you're about to see in the matches. So many bombs too. Atris, Alrund, Skywise, and Sovereign. Some really high card quality in this one. So with that out of the way, time to move on to the matches. Alright, we are back with round number 1, the Spicy deck. And we get this hand, which is pretty close to a keep. If we just find a second land, it works pretty well, but decide to ship it back, and we end up with a pretty similar one. So hopefully we'll be able to find a land with this one. And fortunately, we do find that island. Now it means we have our choice of 2-drop. Ancestral Blade is going to deal the most damage, so that makes sense. And now I believe we get to Ether Theorist here. Don't want to Environmental Sciences just yet, even though we do have 3 of our 4 colors, because if we just hit the land drop naturally, then it's kind of a punish for doing that. Can also scry on upkeep if we are really interested in hitting that land drop. But we did hit it naturally, and this is a reward for playing like this. Now we get to go Griffin Protector. Then next turn we have Sciences for the Swamp. Re-equipping. Opponent's leaving 5 mana up, so I'm thinking about some kind of like 2/3 flash, either flying or reach. So I just make this attack with a 3/4, just in case they have something. They haven't really done too much over there yet. And then I go for Sciences and play the Woodland Stream. I get the Swamp. And opponent had a 5-mana 3/3 Flash Flying Death Touch. So fortunately for me, I just happened to play around the card that they had. And opponent finds an island with their Cultivator, attacks me for 3. So now we scry, get rid of an island. And we find a Pride Sovereign, gonna keep that one. We get to dump the Pristine Skywise into play, trigger the Griffin, attack for 4. Definitely winning this race. And then the opponent plays a Mythos on their Cockatrice, and now they have a second one. And now they play a 3/2 flyer as well. So still using some scries, we're going to get rid of this Plains. And I think just dump a couple 2/2s into play here. I think I attack with the Griffin Protector as well. It's not really doing much better than this. Yeah. Trades for the token, and I think I re-equip to the Pristine Skywise here. And now my plan is just to find some non-creature spells so I can give it protection from blue and then get in for some damage. The opponent finds an Explosive Apparatus to kill my Pride Sovereign, so kind of a punish for me not equipping there. Not that you would really expect that in blue-green. So now I have Arcanist's Owl, which is pretty good. Could find me a non-creature spell, but instead finds me nothing. I equip it because it has a pretty decent attack unless the opponent uses the Monstrous on the Cockatrice. Seems like they're intending to do that, so now we just have to pass, I believe. Yeah. They do go ahead and Monstrous it. They play an Elusive Krasis. We have a Font of Fortunes here, which is pretty great. So that's going to give protection from blue. We're going to draw 2 cards. So now we get to go Dismal Backwater, play the Thraben Inspector, and re-equip to the Skywise. Attack the opponent for 7 down to 1. And yeah, still just looking for another non-creature spell to finish them off. Opponent has a nice combo, the Double Manifest to evolve twice. Their Krasis, and they attack me for 2. We're going to crack our Evolving Wilds before cracking the clue. And we find a Trusted Pegasus. And the opponent only has 2 flying blockers, keep that in mind, and they are at 1 life. Okay, now they have Malfist Revolutionary. They stack the triggers correctly, so they now have a 4/8 Krasis. So we are taking a bit of damage, but it's not a huge deal. So we don't draw a non-creature spell here, but the Trusted Pegasus is going to make it so we have another 2 lethal threats. So I figure I'm not too concerned. I'm just going to send the Skywise, send the other flyers, and a lifelinker. And opponent decides they cannot answer them all. It scoops it up. All right, game 2 of round number 1. We mulligan, and yeah, we get to foretell the 3/6, which is not the worst. Opponent has a Pride Malkin. We just draw land. We're not going to Luminous Bonds that, but they do have Hadana's Climb, which is, I think, a card that they manifested last game, and it's just such an unbeatable bomb here. Like, we get to play the Atris, we choose the Skywise pile pretty easily, and we're still just getting crushed by Hadana's Climb. It's transformed now, and there's just nothing we can do about it. So, time for game 3. Alright, game 3 here. Get a pretty nice hand, basically just hoping not to face Hadana's Climb, because we can't really beat that card. Get to beat down with our 2/2 and play the Haka, which can help us find land drops if we want it to. Opponent plays a 2/2 Slime Molding, which is a sign of desperation in my opinion. Attack, they trade 2/2s. We, I think, keep both of the cards, and then we go for an Atris here, which is kind of funny when you know what the cards are. And so yeah, I think we saw Font in the 2/3 flyer, so we know that 2/3 flyer plus a random card is maybe about as good as Font here no matter what, so I don't mind too much taking it. I think the opponent probably could have done Atris piles a little differently in this match, but probably not worth going into. So yeah, now we jam the Alrund, attack the opponent for 3 menace damage. Choose creature with Alrund. We're always going to be choosing creature, but we do whiff that time. And now, so I have, what, 6 cards in hand, so Alrund is a 7/7, so if they try to double block, then I can use Beaming Defiance. And that is what happens, they go for a double block, so now I spend 1 card from my hand, so the Alrund shrinks by 1, but I give it +2/+2. So, kill both of their creatures. Have to make sure not to play anything here, mainly a land, because I would never play a Luminous Bonds, and you can't play the Protector without playing a land, but if you play a land, the Alrund just dies. So don't play a land. And we choose creature and get an Ether Theorist. Pretty hard to imagine the opponent is beating us. Looks like they are passing the turn, which reads like the Cockatrice. So I think I just attack with the Menace creature here. Yep. And then just drop a Skywise, I think. Yep. And the opponent just scoops. The rares are too good. Alright, back for round number 2. We have a pretty reasonable hand. We can cast a couple 2-drops, and if we don't find an island, we can Sciences for 1, even though it's not ideal. So now I think I go Philosopher. I was going to play Blade, but now turn 3 I can go Blade equipped to Philosopher, and that means I can get in an attack for 3. So I ended up choosing not to do that, go for Sciences for an island here, so I can cast Atris on curve. I believe that's my plan. Opponent plays a random 1/3. Looks like opponent's missing some land drops as well. Yeah, we go for an Atris. I think I took the 2-card pile just because I wanted lands for my Skywise. I did. And yeah, opponent's still missing lands. It looks like they have a Snapping Gnarlid. Now we go for a Font of Fortunes, and I don't remember what I did here. I guess maybe I just cracked it? No, I played the Steadfast Paladin. Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of funny because Skywise, normally you want to... Oh, an opponent 2-for-1s themselves with a Prey Upon. Normally with Skywise you want to hold your non-creature spells for later, but I have multiple in hand, so it's not even a big concern of mine. Opponent has main phase Vexing Gull, and I think, yeah, I just give Pro Blue here to prevent a chump block, go ahead and attack for 7, just gonna try to kill them in a couple turns here. They have a 1/5 reach, so I think I crack the Font. Yep. And I think I just attack for 7, opponent decides to take it. I think we play like Alrund or something. Yeah. Name creature, find 2 creatures. Opponent has main phase Inspiration. I don't think they have anything else they can do, so they're just dead on board now because I can play 2 removal spells, or as you'll see here, I can just play Blink of an Eye and give protection from the color of their other blocker. And yeah, that's going to be game. Alright, game 2 of round 2. Very, very nice hand. This is like just about the perfect hand of this deck. Really nice mana fixing, good 3-drops, good rares. Not much more I could ask for. Even though we don't draw anything to play on turn 2, it doesn't really matter. We have the second tap land anyway. We get Island, I guess because we're interested in casting Atris more than worried about top decking the green card, which does make sense. Opponent has Vexing Gull and 4 mana 3/3 Trample Scavenge. We're going to trade flyers, we don't really care. And now we get to Atris here. We don't really care about the swamp at all. So, pretty clear choice to take the other pile. I think perhaps the opponent made a mistake there. And so now we get to attack for 3. And I think we just play a Font and one of our 3-drops. Yeah, looks like we go for the Trapper. We don't have any historic spells. Oh, they 2-for-1 themselves again, looks like, with the Prey Upon. So the Atris crashes in, then I think we play the Skywise, and yeah, this one's almost over. Opponent has a Prescient Chimera, or Prescient maybe. But we get to crack the font here, I think. Yep. And then Island for Blink of an Eye, we get to attack them, and then I guess just play a bunch of creatures. Or no, I guess I might as well save the Blink of an Eye, huh? Because, or at least some non-creature spell to make sure I have protection for the Skywise. So I crack the Clue, still holding up unkicked Blink. Attack again. I mean, there's just really no way you can lose with a pristine Skywise, and like ways to protect it like that, so. Opponent has a counterspell for my Griffin Protector, which isn't really going to cut it here. And opponent plays just a random 4/5. Now I go for kicked Blink, I think, and that's just game over. Alright, we are back now with round number 3. Pretty good hand. If we miss lands, then we can crack the font, or we can scry with the Haka, but we're going to play the 2/2 lifelinker. Opponent has Guardian of Pilgrims. Not an ideal trade for us, but still one we're willing to make. And I think, yeah, here I just went for the font because trying to make sure I can hit my land drops. And we do get a land drop, but we already missed one. Opponent has a Master of, what is this, Diversion? Yeah, this card's pretty good. They also have the 4 mana 5/3, and they have the Axguard Armory too, so their deck's actually quite nice. I have to Luminous Bonds their Bruenor, and they just play a bunch of stuff, and I'm not casting too many spells here. I play a Thieving Otter. Opponent attacks, taps the Otter. Opponent now plays a 1/2 double strike and a 3/1, just like the nut curve out from them while I'm missing a bunch of lands. So I go for an attack here, hoping that I can use the Honors Reward, and I can. They do let me do that, so I get to get one of their creatures out of the way. Obviously I have to do that on offense because they have multiple tappers over there, so defense doesn't really exist for me right now, unfortunately. And then the opponent just has double striking 4/4 here, I think, to just straight up kill me. Oh no, I only go to 4. Okay, so yeah, so now I have like Blink, and I think my plan is to blink the Master before combat so I can survive here and like chump the 4/4, but obviously it's not a very good spot for me. I replay the Master, go for an attack, see if I draw anything. I do not draw anything, so scoop it up. This card is an Anok Tracker, and we're going to game 2. So here we are, game 2 of round 3. This hand is quite nice. Not too worried about missing lands or anything with this one. So we get to drop the Steadfast Paladin once again. Opponent goes for 2 mana 3/1. They block, so I get to use the Honors Reward once again. This card is so important for this matchup. Gain 4 life and Combat Trick. Permanent Combat Trick too. Just a very nice rate. And so now I attack. Figure there's a decent chance my 4/4 lifelink dies, but still gonna go for it. And sure enough, they have Heightened Reflexes, which is quite bad for me. But I get to play Pride Sovereign, missing double white, which means I can't go Dominant Trapper and activate Pride Sovereign next turn, which is kind of a big problem for me. I think I just go for an Alrund here. Just trying to draw some creatures. We draw 1. It's not too bad. Opponent attacks me for 6, which is kind of annoying, but not the end of the world. And then they play a 1/2 double strike. Looks like I attack with my Alrund here, and then just play an Ether Theorist, and I'm gonna plan on exerting this Pride Sovereign. Find 2 lands with the Alrund. Unfortunate. Opponent goes for an attack here. Taps the Ether Theorist. I'm a little worried about a combat trick that could kill the Pride Sovereign, so I don't want to try to block with it as a 4/4. I just want to exert it and get the lifelinkers into play to trade with the Master. Fortunately, that does work out for me. And now the opponent has 3 mana 2/1 flyer. Ability is not super relevant, I think. Yeah, attack with the Alrund. I think I just jammed the Owl here. Yeah. There's a Luminous Bonds. That's about as good as I could have hoped for. Choose creature. Looks like I find some more lands, unfortunately. Opponent attacks. I think I try to trade my owl for the 2/3 double strike. Not too concerned if something goes wrong, and it looks like it doesn't, so it's a pretty decent trade for me. Opponent has a welder automaton, so now it seems like the game should be pretty much over. I think I actually bottomed the Skywise there just because I felt like I wanted to cast my spells. Like a 6/4 doesn't actually do too much here. I'm just trying to make sure I can cast my white spells, and fortunately a Plains allows me to do that. I think I messed up here by playing the land pre-combat, but it's not anything too enormous. And yeah, I just find another creature, and then I think at this point the opponent just scoops it up. Okay, it looks like they scooped it up. Alright, back for game 3 of the finals, the decider. And we have this hand which is like almost good enough. 2 lands. Green is not the ideal color, but we do have white, and that means we can play the Ancestral Blade, we can foretell the God's Hall Guardian. So I decide to end up keeping because I think my chances are worse with a mulligan. So I drop the Ancestral Blade. Opponent attacks for 3, kind of a problem. And yeah, I think now I go for the Traveling Philosopher and just re-equip, because this way I can trade for the 3/3 that they have over there. And I can also trade for like a 4/2 if that's something they end up wanting to make. And so yeah, we do trade here. Okay, opponent has the scary Cerberus again. And I think, yeah, I just go ahead and foretell my God's Hall Guardian, which is kind of scary because it means I'm taking a bunch of damage. But the good news is I get to try to trade my token for their 3/1, which fortunately for me looks like it's going to work out. And they play another 3/1. So I have a really tough choice here. I can go for like Trusted Pegasus and equip to have a 3/3 and try to trade with their Double Striker, but decide to just play my 3/6, which is a card I care about a lot more here. And so the opponent makes this attack. I don't think the opponent ever makes this attack if they can't deal with the 3/6. And I do have that honors reward in the back. And so even though like I could easily die, like let's say they have something that gives +3 power, like a Sure Strike, something like that, I could easily die anyway, but I feel like I need the Guardian on board to win, and I can gain 4 life. Fortunately, they did not have a Sure Strike. I would have just died to that. So I get to attack here for 4, and now I'm relatively confident that between the Ancestral Blade and the Honors Reward, I can withstand whatever trick they go for here. And sure enough, they do go for Impeccable Timing, so now we get to Honors Reward, turn that God's Hall Guardian into a 6/9, and yeah, we get to 2 for 1 the opponent pretty much, and now they just have another 3/1. So that's pretty much it from here. I just get to drop a Pristine Skywise, attack for 6. Opponent has 4/4 haste. Basically, they just go for the attack all, which is basically a chump attack. We get to put the 6/4 on the 3/1, the 6. Well, yeah, actually, no, that's a fine way of doing it, I guess. And then, yeah, now we just attack for 12, and that's game over. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have enjoyed this one. It's definitely one of the sweeter decks I've drafted, and just wanted to call attention to a couple things. One is, yes, the splashes seemed really silly, but in practice they were actually really powerful, and I had good enough fixing to make them pretty consistent. And then the other thing was the God's Hall Guardian. Right? Judging by what I just said, it would seem like the Shimmerdrift Veil should easily have been the pick over the God's Hall Guardian, and I was kind of kicking myself for that at the time. But in this particular matchup, this card was so important. Missing land drops and being able to just get this thing into play, this really nice defensive body, was amazing. So kind of makes you question like whether fixing is truly better. Like, yes, it's probably the stronger pick. It would have improved my consistency a lot, but my main deck would have gotten a little bit worse. And then particularly in this matchup, I don't actually know if I could have won this one without the God's Guardian. So just something to chew on. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching. Have a bunch more of these videos coming your way, and I'll see you again soon.